Hey guys, Arthur here, and I've got another dev insight for Destiny here. This one will focus on weapons, artifacts, and focusing preview. I have not looked at this at all yet because it just came out, so we're going to take a look at it together. Before we dig in, we wanted to take a moment to thank you. Seeing your reactions has been really moving to us. Frankly, we wouldn't be here without you, and the way you continue to show up for this world means more than we can fully put into words. So, let's go through it right now. The new weapon tier upgrading system, tier upgrading for crafted weapons, many buffs to Anarchy, Lament, Mythoclast, and including catalysts and improvements for previous weapons. Balance update to most legendary weapon types, including overall buffs to primary weapon damage in PvE, and targeted buffs to most special weapons in PvE. Many legendary perk fixes and buffs, a preview of the new artifact coming with new ways to counter champions, saving your choices in loadouts, which is big. People have been wanting that for ages. First up is introducing weapon tier upgrading. So it looks like you'll be able to upgrade weapons of a lower tier. Yeah, so a tier 1 into tier 2, and then tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, etc. We've shifted the unlock of enhanced mods to this gear tier for all weapons. Okay, so tier 3 is going to be the upgraded weapon mods. Okay, that's cool. The final upgrade from tier 4 to tier 5 will have unlocked all enhanced perks, enhanced mods, enhanced barrels, mags, masterwork stat boost, and the ornament combo. It's unfortunate that it doesn't gain bonus perks, but that wouldn't make any sense, because where would it pull them from? Up next is the weapon catalysts. Chaperone is getting triple tap. Parasite is getting envious arsenal. Okay. Teraba is getting ambitious assassin to make the magazine bigger. That's nice. Crimson is going to be getting To the Pain, and Merciless will be getting heal clip. Okay. Parasite getting envious is very nice. Teraba getting ambitious is a little weird because kills in Ravenous mode, I'm pretty sure just fill your mag. Enhancing weapon crafting, with Moments of Triumph update adding new armor set bonuses to earn in our raid and destination content. We wanted those weapons to feel relevant again, but not necessarily ask players to regrind them. Upon logging in, any crafted weapon that already exists will immediately be eligible for a version of gear tier upgrading, and any newly crafted weapons can be taken on the same upgrading journey. Okay, so you can upgrade your very old crafted weapons, like a Fatebringer, which they show here. Also, if you can't notice, behind it, it is a barrier weapon. So tier 5 is going to look like that. Okay. When you reach weapon level 11, you can upgrade to tier 2. You'll gain access to left and right column trades at 25. You can upgrade to tier 4 and add enhanced barrels and magazines. At level 30, you can upgrade to 5, which the enhanced origin trait. Okay. Because the sandbox has evolved and changed since some of these destination raid weapons entered crafting, we've also updated them to add some additional new traits, 2 new traits per column, Clever Eyes will note that Supercharged Magazine and Jolting Feedback have been added to Oversoul Edict above. Was Oversoul Edict even... No. Okay. Other non-raid and destination crafted weapons won't have new perks, but they are receiving enhanced origin traits for the first time, and we did revisit a few of those underperforming origins, including Head Rush, which now activates on a slide and provides a small damage boost against Hive. Okay, so making it not useless. We also haven't forgotten about Raid Adept weapons, and they will gain all the same benefits. These weapons will still gain additional traits based on the number of patterns collected from their non-adept counterparts. They will also continue to upgrade their traits via the original enhancement feature. With Moment of Triumph, however, these raid adepts will gain access to the tier upgrade mod like crafted weapons and can visit the relic to upgrade enhanced components and enhanced origins. These weapons will still retain a bit of extra stat boost on top of their non-adept version. So if you want to use your adept version, it's still maybe going to be a little bit better than your non-adept version. We have modified the ammo system so that if an enemy is floating above a pit, they will not drop the ammo brick when defeated. Even if it fills the meter bar, you'll still continue to gain meter progress, but your next kill on an enemy that's not above a death pit will spawn the brick. That's good. Reduce the amount of meter progress special weapon... Reduce the amount of special ammo weapons gain from defeating targets that are minor enemies by 17. Okay. Linear fusion rifles, both special and heavy ammo linears, felt like they were not getting enough ammo per brick. Heavies will now be getting 5, and enhanced is 6. And special ammo linears will be getting 5 and 10, respectively. Buried Bloodline is now getting enhanced ammo bricks. Choir of One is getting a ammo gain nerf. Okay. Rocket pulse rifles. It's just fixes, I guess. Only in Crucible reduced the point gains from special ammo and heavy ammo kills and assists by 33%, and reduced glaive melee gains by 20. Okay. On to exotic weapon tuning. Jade Rabbit increased the mag size to 15. Removed Zen Moment and added Shoot to Loot and Firefly. Okay. So they're making it not a PvP gun anymore. Fate of All Fools is now going up to 15 stacks. Gaining a stack now refills magazine and increases your stability. Okay, so it's to compensate for the removal of Zen Moment. Stacks will no longer be completely removed when you reload. Body shots will still remove 1 stack. The damage of Firefly scales with your Fate of All Fools. Okay. Splash damage will not remove a stack. Catalyst, in addition to adding stability, special reloading will consume all Fate of All Fools and it will grant you a single micro missile round. What the heck? That's crazy. Vex Mythoclast now has what is comparably a more potent version of rewind rounds when in full auto mode. Precision kills with the linear fusion now trigger an ignition, and after leaving linear mode, you're now fully reloaded. The HUD buff and magazine display have been tweaked to show the exact amount of linear shots remaining. The catalyst sustained damage can now activate the catalyst in addition to kills. That's neat. It's also going to be a barrier weapon. Touch of Malice will be getting final round buffed by 10%. Special reload can now be made faster by buffing reload speed. Okay. Replaced rapid hit in the catalyst with precision instrument. And gained increased stability and reload speed with your charge with blight stacks. Last word is only being buffed with mouse and keyboard by 10% for stability and aim assist. Mida Multi-Tool has been buffed from 10 kills needing to upgrade it per tier to 7 kills. This lowers the total requirements from 40 to 27. And if you're using the macro tool, it'll count for kills as well. Okay. The catalyst's improved radar resolution now remains active for when you stow multi-tool instead of immediately deactivating. Multi-tool still needs to be in your hands for the catalyst to activate. Heirloom. Heirloom can be a potent option if you opted into its particular flavor of playstyle on its initial release. But it did both not feel worth the effort and did not live up to the expectations of being a dungeon weapon. Increased the charge rate by 20%, increased the damage in PvE by 20% of a charged shot, reduced the extra heat generated by shooting by 7%, increased the damage to mini-bosses and champions by 20%, and increase boss damage by 10%, and the catalyst now also gives incandescent. Teraba will now be getting dealing damage to scorched targets will grant you increased Ravenous Beast. Can generate full meter if all the mag hits a scorched enemy. Kills grant greatly increased progress 10% per kill. So you're still going to have to pre-scorch a target for that. Interesting. Anarchy. Once Finality's Augur was released, Anarchy felt like it had no place in a point defense trap system. So we are amping up its trap capability to be more competitive with Finality's Augur. It will now last 15 seconds instead of 10. Combatants will take 30% more damage. Double trap detonation damage versus combatants to better match the per tick damage of a trap. It will now have impromptu ammunition instead of moving target. That's nice. Divinity. Increase the damage of penance, which is the explosion, by 20%, and it's now activating every 3 seconds instead of 4 seconds. And to put a cage up, it's only 10 shots instead of 14. Winter Bite. Reduce self-damage by 66%. The Edge of Action Concurrence and Intent were the class glaives. Glaive projectiles now grant doubled progress towards the special shot. Cool. Hierarchy of Needs now intrinsically applies Scorch. Added hidden tracking for Seekers that guides them to targets recently hit by precision damage. And increased hip fire accuracy. Okay. Sunshot and Grav Lance will now have damage increased for up-close targets and less damage for further away targets. Outbreak is getting nerfed by 0.5 times, which is fine. Arbalest is getting 33% damage buff versus champions. Wardcliff Coil will now... It wouldn't grant Bolt Charge if the player was too far off the ground. Okay. Mechanized Autoloader now works while it's stowed. And increased ammo from 5 to 8. Lament reverted the 70% damage nerf and returned most of the final combo hit damage and self-healing. So they pretty much reverted all of its nerf. Truth has long struggled to have any kind of strong identity in Destiny 2. We have all fond memories of the wild tracking shots with it in Destiny 1, but the weapon struggles to keep up in today's sandbox. We've made some changes that let it lean into its 3 in the mag and gives it a splashy secondary effect if you land all 3. Now returns 1 ammo to reserves and buffs the next magazine when all rounds in a magazine hit a target. When that's triggered, the next magazine will gain dramatically increased fire rate, stability, tracking strength, and it will gain cluster bombs. That seems pretty competitive damage-wise, because you can just chain that back to back to back to back to back. Thunderlord getting nerfed by 2 bullets, so lightning strikes will only grant 5 ammo and not 7 anymore. Whirling Ovation increased the amount of anticipation gained per point of damage by just over 11%. I don't know if that is going to make it more usable. I still don't have it. I've only done a singular Desert Perpetual, so maybe once this patch releases I'll do more. Prometheus Lens increased scorch stacks applied per trigger up to 20 instead of 10. So if you have Ember of Ashes on, it's going to be 30 instead of 20. It's pretty nice. Centrifuge increased to 10% from 4%. Slayer's Fang increased the magazine by 2, reserves by 10, and now when its exotic perk is active, it will reload itself. Xenophage is getting 10 more ammo. That's nice. Legendary Sandbox Tuning. Legendary primary ammos weapons are getting 30% more damage versus miners. Exotics will be getting 40% more. Non-blaster weapons will be getting 15% more. And blasters will be getting 20% more. Special ammo weapons will be getting 20% more, excluding rocket pulses, rocket sidearms, swords, choir of 1, and sniper rifles. Auto rifles of the high impact variety will be getting 400 RPM instead of 360. The ADS range fall off will be 1.6 and reduced base damage to 22. This includes Vex Mythoclast, Suro's Regime with dual speed receiver, but it excludes Cerberus and Sweet Business. Adaptive frames will have an increase in damage by 0.5, and the crit damage will be increased to 27.1. Pulse rifles of lightweight will be getting a damage decrease and a crit damage decrease. Legacy frames will have the reverting of the nerf to their ADS damage fall off, and same with high impacts. Rapid hit scout rifles, or rapid fire scout rifles, sorry, will have their damage decreased and their crit damage decreased. as well as aggressive frame hand cannons having their damage decreased. Bows are having their damage increased to minors by 20 and majors by 40. Rocket sidearms will have their explosion radius increased by 33%. Fusions of rapid, adaptive, precision, and high impact, respectively, will have 7, 10, 20, and 15%. Aggressive frame shotguns will have their PvE damage scaler by 15%, with Fellwinter's Lie having an increase in its base stats. Lightweights, 15%, precisions, 20%. Slugs, 10%, pinpoints, 5%, heavy burst, 10%. Snipers of aggressive frame are 15%, adaptives are 10%. Glaive of rapid fires will be 10%. Trace rifles are going to have a damage increase against minors and majors by 20%. And exotic traces will be going to 40% instead of 30%. Rocket pulses are getting a big nerf. 15% or 15 less ammo gen, 10% less damage, 25% less boss damage with the additional 10% less PvE damage, reduced the explosion radius, and reduced super generation. Grenade launchers as a whole are getting buffed by 5% against bosses and champs, rockets also by 5%, and crossbows 10%. Linear fusion rifles are getting a 10%. Precision hits, I assume, because it doesn't say precision frame. We'll be getting a 10% buff, and reserves will be increased by 30%. Machine guns increased bitter ends reserve ammo, and for swords, they've only decreased the cost of vortex frame heavy attack ammo, from 6 to 4, so making them more optimal for damage. They've made some changes to perks. Focused Fury is now 25%, but now you only need to hit 35% of your mag and not 50. Full Court is increased by 10% for maximum damage. Lasting Impression, also 10%. And Reservoir Burst on fusions will be increased to 30% and 33% respectively for non-enhanced and enhanced. Gutshot Straight reduced the aim assist penalty by 20% and 25% on the enhanced perk. Adagio reduced the damage bonus on hand cannons, but increased the damage on shotguns and bows. The following perks receive some quality of life tuning to make them easier to activate on their own or with other build crafting elements. Collective Action, Collective Pugilism, Cooling Baubles, Elemental Charge, and Fast of Honor now all share the same Tangle activator. Destroy Tangle either by shooting it or upon impact after throwing it. Previously, this was different depending on the perk. In addition, Collective Action and Collective Pugilism also will grant additional time to their durations upon throwing a Tangle. This unique behavior is called out in their descriptions. Artifact Elemental Orbs are now officially considered elemental pickups for the sake of these perks to grant the same benefits as Tangles. Okay. Collective Action, Fire Sprites and Void Breaches, 8 seconds. Ionic Traces and Stasis Shards, 4 seconds. Tangles as a whole, 4 seconds. Instead of a flat 7 seconds, elemental pickups now provide different amount of time depending on how easy they are to create. Okay, that's cool. To compensate for the lower duration gained from some pickups, the damage bonus against PvE combatants has been increased from 20 to 30, but not different in PvP. The enhanced benefit no longer provides more time per pickup, but instead increases the damage to 33. And the increased max time is now 16 seconds. All-star timer is now paused on weapon stow. Desperado can now be activated when reloading after 3 rapid kills instead of just precisions. Frenzy now is getting an extended duration for the enhanced version. Jolting feedback reduced the amount of shots to activate the perk by 1 to 2 for scouts and hand cannons. Encore's HUD buff now display the timer. Envy's Assassin was not working on some single-shot weapons, apparently. Cascade Point, we've removed the ready HUD buff when the weapon is stowed. We've simplified the activation criteria for dealing precision damage with other weapons. 6 crits with auto, pulse, SMG, trace, sidearm, and LMGs. 4 crits for hand cannons and scouts. 2 crits for bows, LFRs, glaive projectiles, shotguns, and sniper rifles. Attrition Orbs now activates in 4 hits on Waveframe grenade launchers, down from 10. Now activates on 3 hits on rockets, down from 6. Contending Cascade. The number of rapid funnel blows needed for max benefits is now 12 and 10 if it's enhanced, and the stat benefits are now maxed out when the elemental explosions are granted instead of scaling up to 20 final blows. Pellet spread is now reduced by 5% instead of 3.2% for full choke, and shot package now reduces the ADS spread by 2.5. Origin traits. Advanced reflexes. New effect for the Dreaming City origin trait, plus 5% damage, and increased 40 handling and 35 charge rate for swords. Gun and run, we've read last time, but I'll read it again. Defeating targets builds stacks of gun and run for short duration. Sprinting consumes a stack to partially reload from reserves or increase your draw speed for bows. Nanotech tracer missiles for Neomuna reduce the amount of hits needed for Basso Ostinado to activate the tracer missiles by 1. And now for Artifact 2.0. With the Mona Triumph, we are reworking the artifact items in multiple ways to better align with the modern Destiny 2 setting, to help set it up to withstand the test of time. This means streamlining the mod selection process, removing any annoyances like refunding dance, having to disable one, and then go back and then re-enable it, and then disable it again. The artifact will also be disabled in competitive and trials. That's huge, because I know a lot of people were complaining that it gives an unfair advantage because you're building way too aggressively into the season itself. Gone are the days of dedicated anti-champ columns and needing to refund mods to select ones in earlier columns. This process has been simplified into 3 buckets that functionally perform just like columns did before, but in a way that uses the visual language of our modern game and works in a more intuitive way. Now, when you want to switch out of a mod in column 4, you can just do that and substitute it out for whatever fits instead of needing to clear out later columns and then going back to earlier ones and then refilling it again. And then we've built anti-champion capabilities directly into your guns instead. So you no longer need to worry about your favorite guns not getting anti-champ offerings in a season, but more on that in a moment. Alongside these updates also comes 6 new mods, defragmented and deciphered from the data disk and into your hands. Fierce Proxemics. Finisher Final Blows grant grenade energy and melee energy. And Rapid Remedy. Machine Gun Rapid Blows heal you. Tier 2, Blinding Jolts. Final Blows on jolted enemies blinds nearby enemies. Precision Equity. Precision Final Blows build progress towards a large orb of power that also grants bonus weapon damage. Higher ranked targets grant more progress. Taser Tag. In Tier 3, arc-powered melee hits jolt combatants and deal further damage for a short time. Sticker Shock. Arc, flux, magnetic, and fusion grenades deal more damage when attached, and on final blows they release micro missiles. That's funny. For eagle-eyed readers, you might have noticed that we keep referring to artifacts in the plural, and that's for a good reason. So now you can use 7 different artifacts that will have different focusing on them. Okay, cool. No more glimmer mods, anti-champ mods, single build crafting. Okay, cool. So depending on what you want, like if you're focusing on a solar and stasis build, you use the Queen's Foil sensor. If you're focusing on a kinetic and void build, you go to the encrypted data disk. That's neat. I like that. Weapons will be intrinsically unstoppable, barrier, or overload depending on their weapon type. Aggressives and high impacts are unstop. Precisions and adaptives are barrier. Lightweight and rapid fire are overload. The more niche intrinsic frames, support frame of the ARs are overload. Adaptives are barrier for linears. Area denial GL is overload. Double fire GL, unstop. Micromissile GL, unstop. Wave GL, unstop. Compressed wave heavy GL, unstop. Heavy burst hand cannon, unstop. Spread shot hand cannon overload. Aggressive burst SMG and pulse are unstop. Heavy burst pulse is unstoppable. The legacy PR55 frame is barrier. Rocket assisted frames are unstop. Disruption sniper is barrier. Caster, vortex, and wave are barrier, overload, and unstoppable. And the dynamic weapons are dynamic heat weapons and balanced heat weapons are overload. Barodiad is going to be overload. Izanagi's burden is barrier. Trinity Ghoul is overload. Xenophage is unstoppable. Parasite is barrier. And Jotun is unstoppable. Parasite barrier is going to be hilarious. Just throw a giant worm into a barrier. Xenophage is getting a catalyst. We don't know what it is. That's all for artifacts. The sandbox will be shared soon. Vendor updates. Focus tiered gear. Any new gear will be able to be focused at the tower. Weapons will be able to be focused at 3 and 4, depending on your power level. With the addition of upgradable weapons, you can take any rolls you get from focusing and upgrade them to Tier 5. While activities will remain the best and most consistent way to get Tier 5s, because armor is not upgradable, focusing armor will go up to Tier 5. Oh, wait, we're getting the unreleased shaders for Ada. Alchemy Scorch, Bone Meal Loam, Brine Glow, and Charred Plumage. Cool. That's really cool. Increase the number of shaders she can sell from 3 to 6. Threaded bounties. Players will earn 1 additional threader bounty per class per week, and bounties reset each week. and the number of threader bounties per class is 10. Cool. Gambit Reputation rank reward track has been restored. Now includes focusing for Gambit gear. Banshee will now have Edge of Fate, Ashen Iron, and Renegade's gear. Dismantling weapons will give Rep again. Hawthorne to give tiered gear. Saint will give tiered gear from Edge of Fate, Ashen Iron, and Renegades. Same with Saladin. Focusing will use Iron Banner ciphers obtained from matches. Iron Banner will maintain event card and will not see its reputation rewards track restored. Shax, same as the other PvP ones. Xur now has his reward track restored. New Catalyst and tier armor. Zavala now includes focusing for all tiered solo ops, fireteam ops, arena, and pinnacle gear from Edge of Fate, Ashen Iron, and Renegades. Pinnacle ops and arena ops will require Vanguard engrams and ciphers, which can be obtained from arena ops and pinnacle ops. Nightfall ciphers that you already have will be transferred into Vanguard ciphers. Rewards from Call to Arms are available to pick up from Zavala, who have earned them but not yet received them. And destination vendors will now have Tier 3. Attune Anywhere. Attunement now lives in your inventory, accessible anywhere, anytime. No longer have to go to a specific vendor to attune what you want. Cool. Hanging out in orbit or waiting for friends during a break between SRL races, take some time to attune to your favorite weapon across various activity types. Distortions, World Drops, Solo, Fireteam, Arena, Pinnacle, Crucible, Trials, Iron Banner, Gambit, Onslaught, and SRL. At any time, players can be attuned to one weapon of each activity type. You can be attuned to Cry Mutiny in Solo Ops, Nightshade in Fireteam, and Better Devils in Crucible all at the same time. Attuning to a weapon means that you will have a significantly higher drop chance for that weapon from activity rewards and will be available for all of the weapons in the active loot pools for each of the included activity types. Attunement is free. You can unattune anytime you want, and there's no limit on what weapons that you can attune to. Okay, cool. So a lot easier focusing for the things that you, as the player, want to have. Alright, that was a long article. My voice is dying. But I'm going to have to redo all of this in a couple hours with the TWID coming very soon. If you guys have any thoughts, let me know in the comments below. And remember to like and subscribe. See you guys.